you're at the bank, and it's a little bit odd. I have the bankers doing yoga behind the camera. They say, oh, here comes Happy. What asana should we do today? And they love it. In the bank, sometimes I'll see friends, and we're kind of moving quickly, so I might just do that and say, it's so good to see you. And then move on. And now, did you notice that you got to share your twinkle factor? The two gentlemen that I gazed with, both of them had extra twinkle in their eye. Our friend Dr. Jacob Lieberman is writing a book right now about the science of creating more twinkle in your eye. And I really think it's about developing more love within, and how can we radiate that out. So that's one of the ambitions of a Blissologist. And I must say that even though you haven't been officially certified or certified, you are definitely natural Blissologists just for participating in this. This leads us to a deeper question. These questions are here for our meditation of the day. And these questions, I invite you to close your eyes if you like, or to keep them open and just think about your answers. These are inward answers that are meant for only you. What most entices you to listen? What is it that most frequently inspires you to speak? What is communication for? Why do you most frequently speak? And lastly, what is it about certain conversations which leave you feeling particularly satisfied? Thank you. Would anybody like to share? What is it about certain conversations which leave you feeling particularly satisfied? Yes?
All of me is welcome with them.
All of me is welcome with them. That unconditional acceptance, yes? Wonderful.
Sometimes I'm most satisfied when I don't have to explain as much. When there's less words.
Less words, more understanding, some kind of comprehension beneath the words, yes?
Talking about happy times.
Talking about happy times, uplifting stories. That leads us to our next aspect of Bliss conscious communication. That is, instead of asking, how are you? Are there alternatives to asking, how are you? And one might be, what uplifting news do you have to share? So you always sneak in that, what inspirational story would you like to share with me? The questions we ask are our steering wheels, and they drive the conversation. Now, as of late, people have stopped asking questions. Have you noticed that when people get together, they often, especially younger people, often just blurt out what's on their mind, and then the other person blurts out, and hopefully there's some kind of conversation that results. In the recent past, even when I was a teen, we used to ask questions. It's such a wonderful idea. And so part of our objective is to bring back questions, and not only the way we used to ask them a few decades ago, but the way that we used to ask them centuries ago. The way that tribal people, even today in remote locations, ask questions. The root of the word question is quest. To bring back the quest in the question, so that when I ask you a question, I'm seeing you as a mystery before me. And that when I ask you a question, it's a quest of exploration and discovery. That comes to a page in our book, for those of you who have one would like to share, on page 11, Questioning Common Questions. According to a recent survey, these are the 7 most frequently asked questions in the English language. 1, how are you? 2, what's your name? 3, what time is it? 4, where are you from? 5, what do you do? 6, how old are you? And 7, what do you want to do? Do these questions inspire you? Well, they certainly did inspire me. Upon realizing this, I began to wonder, why do we ask what we ask? What's the impact of the most common questions that we ask? Before asking anything of anyone, what if we were to first quietly consider to question our questions in order to evaluate the worth of the questions we are about to ask? What would these pre-question questions be? Here are a few possibilities. Does this question I'm about to ask accentuate the positive? Could this question lead to something wonderful? What questions can I ask that honor our highest aspirations and also our intelligence, our deepest philosophies, our brilliant teen mind? Think for a moment, what is the most common question that you ask others? And I'm wondering if anyone would like to share a question that you ask others that's not how are you, but that might be something a little different, a little uplifting. Anyone has an offering? Yes?
What is alive in you?
What is alive in you? You gotta love it. Since the ho-hum question of how are you sometimes elicits less than fabulous responses, let's concoct our own bliss-dipped questions. Merry queries evoke delightful responses. Knowing this, we can create our own uplifting questions, such as these. What especially delighted you today? What interesting things have you been exploring? Who has been inspiring you these days? Why are you feeling especially grateful? How about this? How is your spectrum of reality expanding? For the philosophers out there. And if you're in a hurry, like for me, instead of how are you, I love to ask, what's the bliss? And at first people have to think, oh my goodness, is there anything blissful in my life? But then they get used to it. They go, here comes Happy. She's going to ask me those questions. And if you have more time, would you venture to share some autobiographical highlight? As you might, right? Because she was talking about happy stories. You know, all of us have woeful tales of our childhood, right? Every one of us in this room. But I've now taken up the Bliss-discipline to drop all those and to focus on how wonderful my childhood was, and all the way up to today. To anything that's less than wonderful, why repeat it? We've already gone through it, and sometimes more than once in our own mind. Why give that gift to somebody else? So if you would please, be so kind as to introduce yourself to a neighbor next to you and experiment with asking them a few different questions. How about this one? What do you love about your job or your home or your life or your nose? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What is the subject of your enthusiasm? So if you would please ask your neighbor 1 or 2 of these questions each and really get to the core of the essence of their beautiful being. Please go and seek out a partner. I see some people without partners. Please go and walk towards someone. If you 2 gentlemen like, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, thank you for being so courageous of the heart to experiment here. Isn't this supposed to be a normal church service? And this is a play shop for Blissology.